Good evening. Tonight, we're going to return to London at the turn of the century to provide you with another opportunity to meet with Sherlock Holmes. We'll also be taking a look behind the scenes at the boys and girls of CINEKYD as they continue to work on a variety of film, radio, and television projects. You'll see it all here tonight on CINEKYD Theater. Welcome again to CINEKYD Theater. I'm Bob Clark, Executive Director of CINEKYD, and I'm pleased that you could join us for tonight's program. Before we begin our look at some of the final products, once again we'd like to take you behind the scenes and capture the essence of the wonderful world of CINEKYD by giving you a glimpse of our boys and girls hard at work. On a typical Wednesday evening at our campus at 129 Turwood Road, the young people prepare to shoot each of the scenes for the 7 Keys, a special drama designed and developed for our show on the Comcast cable network. Since September of 1980, we've been visiting with Sherlock Holmes and the characters made famous by the author, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. We've been meeting Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, Professor Moriarty, a variety of interesting people. At the same time that our boys and girls are designing and developing this series, they are also at work rehearsing their weekly radio show. Our boys and girls are part of the National Public Radio Network and locally broadcast over FM, a very creative program of their own. They design and develop the sound patterns, coordinate the sound effects, design the musical bridges, and of course, play the characters. So at the same time that we are working on CINEKYD Theater or television, we are also implementing a weekly radio show. In addition to that, there are a number of film projects that are part of the CINEKYD itinerary. One of the biggest efforts, our summer film for 1981. And work on that has been underway for several months, designing a miniature village based on Willow Grove, Hatboro, Abington, Cheltenham, the various areas where you will be seeing us this summer, filming an effort called Gargantua, the 9th wonder of the world. We'll be talking about that a little later in tonight's show. So on a Wednesday night, it's very, very busy. Not to be outdone, the younger members of our organization meet each and every Saturday morning. It is a lot of fun, but at CINEKYD, it's a combination of enjoyment and hard work. Now that you, the members of our viewing audience, have had a chance to look behind the scenes, let us present tonight's chapter of the 7 Keys. For those of you who joined us in mid-season, let me recapitulate. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson have been asked by the wealthy Breakstone family to join in a search for 7 handmade, jewel-encrusted keys, part of an expedition that took place many years ago. Initially, this would appear to be simply some kind of lost and found search. Unfortunately, Holmes discovered that his evil nemesis, Professor Moriarty, is just as interested in obtaining those 7 keys. During the past weeks in their search, a number of accidents and mishaps have occurred to our stars, not the least of which was the shooting of Dr. John Watson. During the many weeks of his recuperation, while Dr. Watson has been able to recover physically, he is still a victim of amnesia. And as we join our players this evening, they are once again visiting Dr. Watson during his recuperation at the St. Regis Hospital.
Hello, Watson, old chum. I've brought our friend, Socrates, for Paperboy. You know he's such a hard worker. He must have 60 or 70 customers by now. 6 or 7 new ones since you've been in the hospital. You know the way I figure it, old chum? You and I can soon retire and old Socrates will support us.
Dr. Watson, I know something you might remember. Do you recall when I fell off the carriage? Cut my blooming arm. And you put 6 stitches right there. See the scar?
You'll be coming home soon, Watson. Miss Hudson's always wondering how you can make it here on hospital food. He's made some plum pudding, and maybe we can have a nip of your favorite brandy. Sort of celebration.
Socrates, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
How old are you, boy?
14, sir. Remember? You gave me a magnifying glass for my last birthday. You said I could use it when I became a detective, just like you and Mr. Holmes.
Holmes? I don't remember any of it.
It's all right, Watson. It'll come back to you.
Please. Leave me be.
It's a sunny day out. Socrates and I will take a walk in the courtyard. We'll be back in a few minutes. Come, Socrates.
Dr. Watson, we came to cheer you up. It's such a beautiful day, and spring is in the air. And you know this is the only time I can get Victoria out of the house, when the buds are on the trees.
Oh, Meredith, I wish you wouldn't talk to me so. Dr. Watson, there are other things I like besides plants, but I can relate to plants.
Hush, Victoria. How are you feeling? You have much more color in your face. You look much better.
I don't want to sound rude, but do I know you ladies?
Of course you do. I'm Meredith Breakstone, and this is my sister Victoria.
And you must remember our aunt. She's the one looking for the 7 keys.
Victoria, we don't want to talk about unpleasant things. It's such a lovely day.
Then we can talk about my plants.
We don't want to talk about your plants either, Victoria.
I don't mean to sound abrupt, but I haven't been well. And I really do need to rest a while.
We understand. We just came to pay you a visit. We'll come back again. Come on, Victoria. Yeah. Good day.
Meredith, I'll just be a minute. I think I left something back there. Excuse me. I dropped something. Dr. Watson, hoping that you'd remember.
Victoria, where are you?
I'm coming. Next time, Dr. Watson.
Now, from turn-of-the-century London, we take you once again to the medieval capital city of Turnsmere. Long ago, when there were kings and queens and wizards. This is the 3rd chapter of our adventure film, The ASTREKYND. And in the weeks past, those of you who have been with us have followed a story which began in this mythical kingdom with the arrival of King Edmund, his wife, Queen Madeleine, and finally, after the long war, months of peace and prosperity, which were interrupted by the evil magician Lord Griswold, who has designs on the throne of Turnsmere. He has kidnapped the Princess Alyssa, her nurse Eunice, and is holding them for ransom, the ransom being the throne of Turnsmere. However, as the evil magician makes his way through the forest of Turnsmere, he is being followed by our hero, the ASTREKYND, who is Hayes, leader of the Wolf Children, now endowed with the gift of the amulet he wears on his chest. Let's watch Chapter 3 of The ASTREKYND.
Overpowered and unable to win, the urchins beat a hasty retreat to the safety of the forest. And Hayes had vanquished his foe without calling upon his magical powers. The ultimatum had been delivered. Edmund was powerless to act unless he placed his daughter's life and that of her faithful nurse in even greater danger. He could only heed the counsel of his loving wife and await Griswold's next move. Deep in the forest, many leagues from her father's castle, Princess Alyssa and Lady Eunice still remained in the clutches of the evil wizard to be ransomed for a kingdom. The journey had been arduous, and Lady Damara tired of the long trek. When would they reach their destination, and why must they continue to drag along the extra baggage? Griswold explained, even as his own daughter pleaded with her father to stop and rest, for she too was almost exhausted. Edmund treasured his little girl, his princess. Why, he even referred to Alyssa as his little flower. While the king would heed the warning at first, he was sure his love would soon force him to retaliate. Well, let him try to claim his precious flower. They would go where the king would never find them. Rejoining the wolf children as Hayes, the children regrouped and determined to continue their quest for the princess. As Farley took command of the others, Hayes raced to a secluded clearing on the edge of the forest to undergo again the magical transformation. Traveled through the woods, following his sister and her evil captors, unaware that his every move was being watched. Having recovered from their defeat at the stream, the urchins of evil now stalked a more noble prey. Unaware of the boy's mission, they assumed the prince had wandered from a royal hunting party. They further believed that the son of the king would probably be carrying gold coins or some other treasure. And after all, he was alone. Some distance beyond, Princess Alyssa seized the moment and managed to break free of her bondsman. The child expected them to pursue, but Lord Griswold only laughed. And then began a strange incantation. He could not escape. His magic was far too strong. Griswold felt somewhat playful. Perhaps for all concerned, an object lesson would be appropriate. Did they take him for a mere buffoon? And so he proceeded to demonstrate his awesome powers of black magic. Something basic, perhaps, like producing a cup of delicious wine from thin air. Something equally provocative. Like outfitting an army with swords created from tree branches. Followers had seen it before, but were still amused. But just in case they forgot who was boss. But cups of wine and sticks and new hairstyles were child's play. Lord Griswold's powers of transformation were, in fact, much more powerful. For this dramatic moment, the wizard had chosen Alyssa's nurse and devoted companion, Lady Eunice, who was not a willing subject. Griswold had created two Lady Damaras, at least in body. The little princess was not at all pleased with the change, nor would it seem was the real Lady Damara. She was still Lady Eunice inside, but outwardly she could have been Damara's twin. But Griswold had made his point. His feats of magic were incredible, and he took the spell from the poor nurse and restored her own person. As if these demonstrations were insufficient, Griswold had one more statement of his incredible power. He could control inanimate objects, the physical illusion of changing one person into another. He could move people and objects from one position to another. But he could control the very rotation of the earth on its axis, and with his limitless wizardry, change day to night. His strength was drawn from the dark world. His powers of illusion were unmatched. It would seem impossible to stop him. He was consumed almost to madness with dreams of his own greatness. Fiery explosions themselves were reminders of the evil, which was the source of all of Griswold's magic. Even as his followers celebrated their master's breathtaking skill, Griswold told them the journey must continue as planned. They were almost there, near a place where they would remain until Edmund had renounced his crown and proclaimed Griswold king of all of Turnsmere. They would be secure beyond the mountain of Kesna and into the Valley of Doom. And in another part of the forest, in a clearing by the mountains, the young prince was overpowered by the urchins that did himself valiantly. But his fate was all too apparent. He was far from home, very much alone. Or so it would seem. Plans were interrupted by a strange sound and an even more incredible sight, a boy flying toward them. Was not frightened by this sight, nor the Star Child himself. His sharpened dagger would, he was sure, cut the flying youth down to size. of Turnsmere was saved, but his sister was still in danger. Assured that Geoffrey would be a safe distance away before the urchins revived, the Star Child continued on his search for the hostages. Scouring the countryside for the little princess and her nurse, the Astrakyn was seen, close at hand, by the wolf children. They were not sure just who or what he was, and were amazed to see this boy in crimson and gold soaring above the trees like a young eagle. As if protected by some magical cloak, Griswold, his followers and captives, moved closer to their destination, beyond the reach, it would seem, of their pursuers. They were now many miles from the castle of the king. Even though they had traversed on foot, they had made surprisingly good time. Aside from the wolf children, they had met virtually no resistance on their journey, and thus far had escaped the notice of the Star Child flying far above them.
Next week, the exciting conclusion of a film that was made entirely by the boys and girls of CINEKYD. It's all here at CINEKYD, where it's kids in film, and we'll be looking for you next week, same time, same station, for CINEKYD Theater. Until then, this is Bob Clark saying good night and God bless.